Thoughts are not always truth. Your mind can lie to you. Not every thought you have is rooted in truth or reality. You know, one of the most liberating truths I ever learned is this: just because you think something doesn't make it true. Our thoughts can be powerful, so powerful that they can shape how we feel, how we behave, and ultimately how we see ourselves. But here's the thing: not every thought that runs through your mind is rooted in fact. Many of them are echoes of fear, of insecurity, of conditioning passed down from people who are fighting their own battles. Some of the most vicious attacks we face aren't from the outside world. They come from within our own minds. When a thought says you're not good enough, or you're too late, or you'll never change, it can feel real because it triggers emotion. But feeling isn't always fact. A thought is not a prophecy. It's not destiny. It's just a momentary narrative. And if we don't stop to question it, we start to live by it. We become actors in a script we didn't write. This is the turning point: learning to observe your thoughts without becoming them. Because freedom doesn't come from silencing every negative thought. It comes from refusing to believe every one of them. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. The inner critic was taught, not born, that negative voice in your head. You learned it from life experiences, trauma, or cultural conditioning. That critical voice in your head, the one that says you're not smart enough, not attractive enough, not enough, wasn't born with you. It was taught. Somewhere along the line, maybe in childhood, maybe through a painful relationship, maybe just by absorbing the noise of the world around you, you began to internalize messages that told you who you were supposed to be. Over time, those messages didn't stay external. They took root. They began to sound like your own voice. But here's the truth: that voice is learned, not inherent. Psychologists call it the inner critic, and it often develops as a way to keep us safe from rejection, from failure, from disappointment. But what starts as protection becomes imprisonment. You start policing yourself, you start shrinking. And worse, you start confusing the voice of judgment with the voice of wisdom. We have to get curious about where that voice came from. Who taught you to think that way? Whose approval did you chase so long? You began to doubt your own worth? If the inner critic was learned, it can be unlearned. The path forward isn't to fight the voice. It's to understand it, then replace it with truth. Reclaim the mic. Speak to yourself in a voice that heals, not harms. Awareness is the first step to freedom. The moment you notice the attacking thought, you've already taken back power. Awareness is where everything begins. The moment you become aware that your thoughts are attacking you, when you actually notice the pattern, you've already interrupted its power. That's the beauty of consciousness. It gives you the space to step outside the automatic narrative and ask, is this even true? Is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Most of us are living in reaction, not reflection. We're not choosing our thoughts, we're being driven by them. But the ability to observe without judgment, to say, there's that thought again, without attaching to it, that's a radical act of self-empowerment. It's like switching from being inside the storm to watching it from a distance. You can feel the wind, but it doesn't sweep you away. This kind of awareness isn't passive. It's an active, intentional practice. It requires you to slow down, to be present, to create a mental pause long enough to decide how you want to respond. That pause, just a few seconds, can change the course of a conversation, a decision, even the trajectory of your life. When you become aware, you become free. You don't have to believe every thought, you just have to recognize which ones are trying to control you. You can rewire your mental patterns through mindfulness, journaling, and reframing. Your brain can learn healthier inner dialogue. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity. the ability of the brain to rewire itself based on new experiences, new behaviors, and yes, new thoughts. This means the patterns you've lived with for years, the anxiety loops, the harsh self-talk, the limiting belief, are not fixed. They're habits, and habits can be changed. When your thoughts attack, it's often because the brain is following an old, well-worn path. Maybe it was carved through years of criticism or disappointment. But every time you challenge that thought, every time you replace it with something grounded, something compassionate, something true, you begin to build a new neural path. Slowly, that new path becomes the one your mind travels more easily. It's not overnight, it's not magic. It's rewiring, and this isn't about pretending everything's okay. It's about choosing what voice you give authority to. It's about practicing a mental discipline that aligns with the life you actually want, not the one fear or doubt has scripted for you. You are not a prisoner of your past programming. You are the architect of your mental environment. Every thought you reframe is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. Choose wisely. Speak to yourself the way you'd speak to a child you love. Replace internal shame with compassion. Self-kindness isn't weakness, it's transformation. One of the most profound shifts you can make in your life is to change the way you speak to yourself. Not in some overly positive, surface-level affirmation kind of way, but in a deeply human, compassionate, and truthful way. Imagine, for a moment, that the voice in your head, the one that judges you, blames you, diminishes you, was speaking to a child. Would you let it? Would you tolerate that kind of cruelty aimed at someone innocent, someone still learning, someone just trying to figure things out? Here's the truth, that's who you are too. You're still learning, you're still becoming, and you deserve to be spoken to with care, especially by the one voice you hear more than any other, your own. The words we speak to ourselves carry energy, they shape identity. Over time, they create the filter through which we experience the world. So when that old voice comes in cold, sharp, unforgiving, you have a choice. You can meet it with gentleness. You can rewrite the script, because self-compassion isn't weakness, it's maturity, it's power, and it's a decision you get to make every single day. Speak to yourself like someone worth loving, because you are. The power of the pause when your thoughts attack. Pause. Breathe. Respond, don't react. When your thoughts begin to spiral, when they attack, accuse, and agitate, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to fight them. It's to pause. That's it. Just pause. Because in that pause, you interrupt the automatic cycle. You create space. And in that space, you regain choice. The human nervous system is wired to react. Fight, flight, freeze. When the brain perceives a threat, even an emotional one like failure or rejection, it launches into survival mode. The thoughts that follow are often frantic, exaggerated, and unkind. But those thoughts aren't directives. They're signals, and if you can stop even for a breath, you begin to respond instead of react. That's where your power lies, in the pause between stimulus and response. This isn't about being passive, it's about being present. That pause can be a breath, a prayer, a grounding sentence. This is just a thought, not a truth. And in that stillness, you make room for clarity, for calm, and for conscious action. You don't have to win every battle in your mind. You just have to stop long enough to remember who you are. Stillness is not weakness, it's strength under control.